Transportation Planning and Development, TP&D Director of the Dallas District Office of the Texas Department of Transportation, TxDOT. It's like acronyms from the school district. I've got letters, alphabet soup. She is responsible for managing the efforts of roadway, bridge, and hydraulic design, survey, mapping, PS&E, and schematic development, both in-house and consultant, environmental, right-of-way, and programming and funding. I'm not sure you had time for lunch, but thank you for being here. Lacey and her team manage a portfolio of 700 plus projects worth over $26 billion with a B dollars. Lacey started her career with the department as a summer hand in Midland, Odessa, right out of high school, and continued to work with the department for 3 summers during her college career. Lacey received her bachelor's degree in civil engineering from Texas Tech University in 2004. She is a licensed professional engineer in the state of Texas, as well as a certified floodplain manager. Lacey, her husband Kevin, and their 8-year-old twin girls Callie and Leah make their home in Rockwall, Texas. And coming to the podium first is going to be Todd Plesko. He's Vice President of Service Planning and Scheduling. Todd brings more than 3 decades of experience in transportation planning and development to his position, directing a broad range of program development functions for DART. He is responsible for the Planning and Development Department, which includes the direction of 2 divisions, Service Planning and Scheduling, and Mobility Programs Development. Specific functions of the department include planning and development, bus rail service monitoring, planning and scheduling, planning and preliminary design for bus and HOV facilities, and engineering and operation of the HOV system in cooperation with the Texas Department of Transportation. Past experience, Chief Planning and System Development for Metro in St. Louis, Missouri, and previous stops in Madison County, Illinois, Syracuse, New York. His education background, he has a Bachelor of Arts, Political Science from the University of Illinois, Champaign-Urbana. So please help me welcome to the podium, Todd Plesko.
I'm going to stand out here a little bit so I can see what slides on there. But I'm going to cover today basically 4 points on there that different services that DART provides, and I'll highlight a couple of the capital projects that we're working on. And I will also, what's not on there, I'll cover a little bit about transurban development, possibly at Buckner Station and Longview, Lake June, so the potentials for that in that area. The key items, the first one has to do with a major project that we'll be working on next year, which is to redesign and revamp the entire bus network and also our mobility on demand services. And I'll talk about that GoLink service, which is our new mobility on demand, which now includes Uber Pool as part of it. And then we have a program called a Rider Assistance Program, which is a user-side subsidy. So seniors in the zip code right here in Pleasant Grove are able to get access. They can purchase transit value where they can use a taxi to get where they want to go within a certain budget amount each month. So, the key thing I want to really sort of ask your assistance and interest in is this redesigned bus system. The city of Dallas, of course, is very interested in seeing an improved bus system that's faster, quicker, and that allows people to get to jobs, more jobs within a short period of time than is currently possible. And so we are hiring a consultant. We're actually going to hire the same consultant that was used to develop the Houston system, which is perhaps the foremost example of really how to redesign a transit system to result in increased ridership. They're perhaps the only transit system in America that's been experiencing increased bus ridership during the period of time which nationwide bus ridership is down. So we hope to award that contract in October, and then beginning in January of 2020, I'll be looking for stakeholders. Certainly the Southeast Chamber would be an excellent group to be participating in helping us to look at the trade-offs and the designs for develop this new system. And then finally, if all goes according to plan, we would be envisioning improved services in 2021. So why do we want to revamp the bus system? Well, if you look at the whole Dallas-Fort Worth area, there's been rapid increase in jobs, rapid increase in people, and yet our bus ridership has been down. So we really need to figure out why and to change that. And part of the reason is for increasing competition with Uber and Lyft and scooters. If you're downtown Dallas, you'll see scooters everywhere. But we're also competing against the automobile. And so a lot of people who are now working have been able to either lease or buy a car, and so they are able to get further distances within the travel time, and they maybe have elected not to use the rail or the bus system. So we also are at a point where our rail system is, for the most part, built out. There'll be a few infill stations that we finish. There will be perhaps the second alignment downtown, and we're working on the Silver Line, which is our Cotton Belt line, that's sort of east-west rail line. But those are, for the most part, that system is built. And so our financial resources are highly constrained. You know, we're paying back a large part of our transit system, our rail system, based on debt. Debt gets paid first. You operate your services with what's left over. And so whatever we do will be a challenge. And so we need to get the community's input on how we might change the system and do so within the budgets that we have available. So the main part of this consultant study will just start with building user groups, rider groups, elected officials in all of DART's 13 cities, but also community groups, stakeholders, business groups, to provide input to this process. We will develop scenarios, and our board is interested in saying, well, what if we change the ratio of ridership-oriented routes versus coverage routes? And I'll cover that as we go through. But to do that, it has an impact on neighborhoods. It affects bus service that people might count upon. So the board will give us a couple of percentages. Right now we're about 55% ridership-oriented in terms of how we deploy our resources, and 45% for coverage. And so they're maybe less focused on ridership than to make sure that everybody has access to a bus within close distance. So that system, if we change it, we have to develop one alternative, which is based on existing resources, and then a second one based on if we get new resources. So that's what this consultant project will work on. So I'll show you today just an example. Now, this does not show all of DART's bus routes. We have 140 bus routes. We operate 684 buses in our peak. We got 163 rail cars, plus the TRE, and in the future here, the Cotton Belt. So, but this shows you the high frequency services. Well, you'll see that's primarily our rail system, and you can see just a couple of routes. One, 592, which is a Pleasant Grove route. It's one of the high frequency routes that DART operates today, or did in 2018. And then Route 11, which operates into West Dallas, Copper Hill, and then goes into the South Dallas area around ML King Station. So those are the only what we call high frequency routes, where they run more frequently than maybe every 30 minutes. They run every 15-minute type routes. So if you look at, we implemented last Monday on the 12th, an increased number. We had 4 more what we call high frequency routes. You'll notice also the 467, which serves Pleasant Grove, 466, which comes into Buckner Station and edge of the Pleasant Grove area. So this area of this particular southeast area of Dallas is one of the most important areas as far as DART in terms of our resources, in terms of ridership, and it's also, we think, a lot of our future as well. So we just want to see that we're improving it, but where we'd like to be would be something more like this, which shows more high-frequency routes all over the system. But that consultant study will be working with the community to see, is this what we need to be doing, or should it be something different? So I'll give you a quick example. We showed this at our board retreat this last February, where we showed the board that, let's say we've only got 18 buses, and you see all those little dots on that map. Those reflect passenger boardings. So you can see there's 2 routes, essentially a north-south and an east-west route, that have a lot of ridership. That's your ridership corridor. And you see the boardings on all the other little neighborhoods off of that. But you've only got 18 buses to spend. So we asked the board, how how do we deploy this? So you could do it based on ridership. And you can see that we put all 18 buses on those 2 routes that would create a lot of frequency. You walk up and within 5 minutes there's a bus, and so it makes it very convenient for people. But if you live on some of those streets and neighborhoods where you see the dots, which are farther than walk distance from those routes, then that group would be left out if we allocated resources that way. So you could take the coverage approach, which by and large has been what DART has done over the last 30 years, which is to make sure that everybody has something. But the high frequency, which a lot of our city council has pointed out, hey, we need to be the right kind of city to attract the right kind of development, to help our housing, to help our job access, then maybe you need to have more high frequency routes. Well, this takes all 18 buses and spreads them out, so you've got about 5 or 6 that are on the high frequency route compared to 18, and the rest of them are scattered out. So that's another way, that's what DART has by and large done, but it may not be what the community wants in the future. So the goals are different and they have different impacts. Ridership is the lower subsidies, more ridership, but not as much coverage. If you look at coverage, everybody gets something. It serves the low density areas, but it doesn't generate the ridership that you might want. So our board said, well, where is DART today? What's our percentage of our resources that go to the high ridership corridors? And that's basically 55% of our resources are put on corridors, which we define as high ridership corridors. Enough density, enough activity to support that. And 45% roughly go to the coverage. You'll notice that shows the little 1%, that's duplication. DART, when we built the rail system, when I came here, we essentially eliminated most all of the duplicative services. There's a little bit, but not much left. So you might say, well, how do we compare to other cities? And I'll just point out Houston as an example. They were 55% ridership, and they were 30% coverage and 15% duplication. But when they finished this exact study with the same consultant that we are hoping to engage, they came up with 80% of the resources on the high frequency ridership corridors and 20% for coverage. And I won't go into the others, but DART has not made that determination yet as to where we want to be, because we need community engagement first. Next part is I want to talk about a service called GoLink. And you may have heard of microtransit, you certainly know Uber and Lyft, but Uber and Lyft are basically a taxi service that are just not shared ride. And so DART sort of developed services for low density areas that didn't attract a lot of riders, with sort of an on-demand service that maybe you could serve well, but maybe not have to spend as many dollars doing it. So we started with our GoPass, that we started using this mobile app, and we realized that everybody's using mobile apps for everything. And so we thought if you could pay for your app, if you could schedule an on-demand service through that GoPass app, that it would be easier for people to use in some areas to get to a rail station or to a bus hub. So this shows you today, the shaded areas are the zones that today have on-demand microtransit service. 7 of those have Uber Pool, and I'll cover that in a second. But all of them will have Uber Pool by sometime in September of this year. So you can see where those are. In a lot of cases, they're areas that don't have any bus service, like far north Plano. They had no bus service whatsoever. Rowlett had 1 bus route, but they 40,000 people, but there's just 1 bus route. They have a rail station and 1 bus route. So we put in this microtransit service. We added 3 in Riley, and in Cleburne, and also in the Inland Port. That's in southern Dallas. So you can see what happened. Like in April of 18, that's when we started this service. And as we expanded it and we added Uber Pool, you can see we went from just under 7,000 boardings a month to over 19,000 boardings a month. We believe that when we get Uber Pool into all of them, we'll probably be in 25,000 boardings a month. Now these are in low density areas, zones that are about 6 square miles. They surround a rail station or a bus transfer facility. We have one up in Legacy that's bus only. We surveyed people to say, do you like this service? And you can see 88% of the people who use the service from a fairly extensive survey indicated that they would recommend it to family and friends. That is perhaps the most common tool for marketing companies. Would you recommend this service to your family and friends? If you compare it to your cable company, this is very high rated. So, so you can see also for the people who are disabled, 95% say they would recommend it to family and friends. So I just would point out these are the 3 zones we have in this general area and we started it out sort of just over a year ago. This kind of shows you what are people doing. The lines say where are they getting on or off, and you can see they're going from Buckner Station down to neighborhoods within Riley and in Kleberg. And that used to have one bus route that ran once an hour, peak hours only. This service is now available Monday through Friday from 5 a.m. to 8 p.m. And so we're actually beginning to attract a lot more people in this than we did when we had this fixed route bus.
Can I
Yes,
ask
sir.
a question? At that point, when they get to Buckner Station, are they taking the train in, or are they taking the bus in?
The majority take the train, although coming into Buckner, there are people that jump on buses as well. So I don't have the exact percentage, but 95% of all the trips in these stations are going on to buses or trains, but I would probably say 80% of that is to the train.
I hope that'll be part of the study, because some people maybe just want to take an express bus all the way into the urban core as opposed to going through the stoppage of the train route. Of course, there could be express trains too.
True. In fact, we used to run an express route, as you probably know, that went downtown, carried about 3,000 boardings a day from the Buckner Station area. It may have actually been from late June at that point, but anyhow, this shows Inland Port. In Inland Port, we get to UNT, the campus there, and there's a station, UNT station, and the area in Dallas. This shows you the zone, this city of Dallas. And that's where Amazon is, and there's increasing numbers of jobs in that area. There was one fixed route bus that went down to Cedar Valley College, but other than that, you couldn't get to any of those jobs. So we brought this on-demand service on to allow people to get to where they're going, where they need to go. And this shows you a potential expansion of that, which goes into the non-DART service areas. There is a Transportation Management Association that has been formed, and that group will get some special funding, and they may one of their options would be to consider expanding this service to serve parts of DeSoto, parts of Wilmer and Hutchins, Lancaster, where other jobs are. And it's particularly important because a lot of the people who live in southern parts of Dallas are very, very close to this, but if there is no transit, they're not generally considered for one of these jobs. So it's important for us to look at this.
Could you explain a little bit more how this Go Link works? For instance, is there people go online, if 17,000 people want to go, then they're going to provide adequate services for that, and then a given day, like Saturday, might be 3,000, so it might recede down to cover only that 3,000 number. Is that how that works?
Great, that's a really good question. So the way DART has a baseline amount of service, which today is essentially one vehicle. But we supplement it with Uber Pool. So Uber Pool has 20,000 Uber drivers that operate within the metropolitan area, including in this area. And so what we want to do is to make sure that we have adequate capacity for somebody that needs a wheelchair vehicle, because the Uber vehicles are not wheelchair accessible at this point. So we've got a core service that DART guarantees will make sure that everybody that needs a mobility device will get there. But we supplement it with Uber Pool. And so then what people do is they open it up on their app, the GoFast app, and they can choose Uber Pool, or they can choose GoLink. Or if they don't have their phone, well, Paratransit's not yet tied into it, but that's part of our goal. Paratransit's the ADA for individuals who are disabled that can't use a fixed route transit. The other, I think I lost my train of thought on that, but
You were talking about opening up the app.
yeah,
And,
so people can use the app, but if you don't have a smartphone, then you call the call center and you call when you need it. And so we've been advertising and pretty much delivering on providing service within 10 minutes. So if you had to wait for a bus every 30 minutes, you maybe say your average wait time would be 15 or 20 minutes. In this case, we're providing that vehicle if you use the app or if you call in within 10 minutes of the request time. And an Uber Pool is actually a little better from that. It's been generally in the 7 or 8 minutes in the South Oak Cliff area, or southern Dallas area. So I want to explain one other program which people may not know. And so in many cases there are people, particularly seniors, 65 or older, or people with disabilities that is not so severe that prevents them from using fixed route transit. They can use fixed route transit, but they may not be able to walk far enough to get to it. So we provide a service which is essentially allowing seniors to purchase in certain zip codes, and you can see that they can purchase up to $100 a month. They have to put in 25% of the cost, so they put in $25, and then they call Yellow Cab. In October, they'll call a DART number, and then we'll provide that provider. And so they can go where they want to go as long as the trip begins inside that zip code, and then comes back later from their trip back to that zip code. So you can't use it to travel anywhere within the region unless it begins or ends in that zip code. And so we found that a really helpful program, even for people who can use bus, but they may not be able to get to the bus. And so that $100 a month allows them to sort of get to where they can get other transportation services that are inexpensive, but they don't have to have that long walk. So this, right here you can see these are the zip codes that are now in effect. We're also negotiating with the City of Dallas for some other areas that the City of Dallas provides some medical transportation. But one of them is the 75217 zip code, which covers a substantial portion of the region around here. This kind of shows you that zip code. So the outer blue line, it's covered up, but on the east side there. But basically that whole area most of that whole area is that zip code. And so you can see there is fixed route service, including high frequency bus service. There is rail service, but along the east edge, you can see there isn't a lot of bus service. It's quite low density, and so this service will help. And then you can see those two green shades. The one that's to the left is I believe Kleberg, and so that's part of that zip code. So that provides mobility for people who are seniors or disabled.
That's 75253.
Okay. Now, I'm going to cover the rail projects real quickly. Just a little bit of the Silver Line, the second alignment, and the red line, blue line platform extensions, and then I'll cover a little bit on the TxDOT at the end. So this is the train we have ordered. I think we've ordered 8 or 9 of them. It's electric, driven by a diesel generator. So it's what we call a DMU. It'll operate. It's beginning in Plano up on Shiloh Road. It'll go past the George Bush Station right there at State Farm. It'll have a stop at the University of Texas at Dallas. It'll then continue, there'll be a stop at Knoll Trails, which is in Dallas, one in downtown Addison, one in downtown Carrollton, and then we'll have a stop at Cypress Waters, which is the City of Dallas. That is a development, a significant development. It'll now have rail service. And then it'll then continue to the airport, Terminal B, where it will connect with TxRail, which is the Fort Worth Transportation Authority, or Trinity Metro is their name today, that would take you all the way to Fort Worth. And we will, in the future, interline those trains so that some trains will go to the airport and other trains will go directly to Fort Worth. So it'll get two-way traffic. Yes, sir?
Will these trains have to have catenary wire and all that?
They will not. It's it has a diesel generator. If you've been on the A train that operates from Trinity Mill Station on the Green Line all the way up to Denton, they're pretty quiet. In fact, they're quieter than the light rail vehicles, in my opinion. But it's a diesel engine that is small and it generates electricity that runs the wheels. This kind of shows you the dotted line there is the Cotton Belt alignment. You can see where it crosses the red line, it crosses the green line, it crosses the orange line, and then ties in to Trinity Metro over at the airport. And so it creates, for people in Plano and Richardson, they can get to the airport probably in 49 minutes compared to 90 minutes if they took the orange line from
Yes.
Parker Road downtown and around and out. To get to Addison from that area in Plano, on bus, it could take you darn near 50 minutes on the traffic. You'll get there in 25 minutes. So it'll be a much quicker, faster way to travel east-west across the system.
Is there a stop at the green line that goes towards North Carrollton there so you can just get off in the Cotton Belt line and then go north to Carrollton and Denton?
Today, and when this is done, the answer is no, but DCTA would like to extend. Their train ends at the next station north of there, which is Trinity Mills. And so they would like to extend their train down to downtown Carrollton, which would then allow you to go from Denton, get into, it would be a rail hub, which would be really powerful. So that's not a DART project, that's a DCTA project, but that is in their vision.
Looks like there'd be a stop there on that Cotton Belt at the green line, so you can get off and then jump on the green line with or side.
You can, but what you'd have to do is we stop, there's a station at the green line, so you can take the silver line over there and get onto the green line. So if you went north on the green line, one station today, that's where you catch the train to Denton.
If y'all want to hold your questions, I want to make sure Lacey's got enough time to do her presentation too, so we can have him finish up here.
So this is our other big project. We're working with TxDOT on this one. We have not finalized the design, but in general, it'll be a tunnel down Commerce, and it will then come out and connect with the green line someplace in the Deep Ellum area. The exact details of that, you can see this is what we had hoped to do, but it really depends on the engineering issues getting resolved. And so we meet on a fairly regular basis with TxDOT and the community and the business community to make sure that final plan is done. This allows us to run two lines on this one, that including the green line would come on this new alignment. But if there was a disruption on Pacific, which is where all the trains are today, we could reroute onto this section. So we would be able to be more redundant. Platform extensions. You have the ability to have 3-car trains and do have some 3-car trains on the green line today out to here, but we cannot run them on the red line or the blue line, and so we will be over the next 2 years lengthening the platforms from 300 feet to 400 feet, and that will allow us to run 3-car trains up to Plano or into down to Westmoreland, or on the blue line, which I often ride. We have overloads at certain times of the day, so we'll be able to run those larger trains, and that'll help us with capacity. So that's the key thing I just would mention real quickly. There have been proposals for TOD at Buckner Station. One was sort of a mixed-use development. That project kind of has died off, but DART would like very much to try to find private developers and work with the city to develop some kind of mixed-use developments. Could be residential, could be commercial, but doing that at Buckner Station would be great. We also have a lot of land at Longview, and we're working with the city of Dallas now on the trail and the connection to the Longview Station. And there's, I think, Edie told me about 20 acres that are developable, so that's another potential development area. And of course, Lake June is in between, is an area where we have extra land that could be a development project. So I end my presentation. I'm sorry it took so much time, but.
Yeah, if y'all will hold your questions for Todd, and then we'll go ahead and let Lacey start hers. Lacey?
So I've got some notes because I have a lot of stats and I can't memorize it all. So I always like to begin by kind of showing you guys our mission and vision with TxDOT. So we collaborate constantly with our local officials and our community leaders, with other entities like DART and NTTA, and one of our missions is or our mission is to make sure that we collaborate with those folks to make sure that we're delivering the projects. And then our vision is to deliver those projects and make sure that we do it in the right way, to create a good quality of life. So TxDOT, just real brief, we have 25 districts statewide. And then we have a number of divisions that operate as well. Dallas is comprised of 7 area offices. So we have, 7 counties. We have 5 area offices. So North Texas, it's 13 counties, right? So in our North Central Texas Council of Governments, our Metropolitan Planning Organization has 13 counties. And these are some stats: 9,000 square miles, and 7.4 million people. And Dallas District owns more than 50% of that, of the square miles and the population. So you can imagine, it's a lot of projects we have going on. So real quick, structure for the TP&D side at TxDOT. There's public involvement, survey, utilities, and right-of-way. I have a portfolio manager that helps me manage the 700 projects that we have in our portfolio. I oversee the bridge design as well as advanced planning and our transportation funding, roadway design, and our project delivery, which is our consultant management section as well. So Dallas County projects. So I'm going to go through construction, design, and planning. So I've got some maps for you guys. So this is just a quick snapshot of the Dallas County and what construction projects that we have going on. So we have about 34 projects going on right now, $2.5 billion total. This includes the newly executed contract with on LBJ at 635 as a design build project. So quick update, SM Right Phase 1. We are getting close. We're 85% complete on this project, and this is the purple portion that you see. This little purple portion right here, that direct connection. 85% complete. We should make that connection sometime in December, where it'll actually be open, and then those folks that are driving on 310 will not have to drive on 310 anymore. You'll be driving on 45. And then once that happens, we'll be able to move forward with Phase 2, which I'll go over here in a little bit. But this project led in February of 2016 and is about 85% complete. It's about $100 million on this project, and we'll complete it near the beginning of 2020. It's also Southern Gateway. This project is it's kind of 2 segments. We're adding capacity on both segments. One, we're fully reconstruction. So segment 1, we're going to fully reconstruct 5 general purpose lanes and some, I'm going to make sure I get this right, 2-lane reversible non-tolled managed express lanes. That's what that's called. And then segment 2, we're just widening in that area, adding a general purpose lane each direction for 3 general purpose lanes. And then also 1-lane reversible non-tolled managed express lane there as well. So it's very complicated. And this project is it's in the thick of it, so I've got a schedule here for you guys. We should be completing in late 2021. We've got some information here. 8th Street, they demoed that in June. Beckley Avenue, Marcellus, and Illinois Avenue are coming up this fall to be reconstructed. So moving fast. I'm sure if you guys drive through it, it's kind of a nightmare right now. But progress is painful sometimes, but when it gets there, when it gets all done, it'll be great. So the next project update is 35E Lois Stemmons. This project is to construct some collector distributors parallel to 35. This is by far the biggest bang for your buck as far as mobility and congestion go. It is only, it's less than a $100 million project, which is pretty incredible. And the mobility that we're going to receive, increased mobility we're going to receive from this project is going to be enormous. It's going to be amazing. You guys are going to really see, as soon as it opens and we move traffic over, it's going to be instantaneous. You're going to see that congestion be relieved.
That's that anti-weaving project.
That's correct, yeah. So there's this enormous amount of weaving from 30 to DNT and all through there. We're going to separate that movement.
Some more dedicated lanes and you track them.
That is correct. So the typical sections down at the bottom. So we're not adding any general purpose lanes. We're just adding what's called collector distributors. We're collecting the traffic that's coming from 30 and distributing it separately from the general purpose lanes. And so it's going to be a huge, huge project. as far as congestion mobility goes. So September 2020 is when we're shooting to be completed there, so we're a little over 50% on that project. LBJ has not started construction yet, but we did give a conditional award to the design build firm and back in May, and we'll be executing that contract at the end of this month. The commission should approve that at the next commission meeting. This one, of course, is we're adding capacity 1 lane in each direction, and then continuous frontage roads, and then reconstructing all the intersections as well, and includes reconstructing the interchange at 30, which desperately needs it. Not only because of mobility, but because of condition as well. Those structures are not in great shape. More construction on LBJ.
What's the timeline on that?
That is a 4-year project, most likely. Of course, from when we award in August, we'll do the design on the upfront. Utility relocation will occur for about 9 months to a year before you really see actual road construction occurring.
2021 is probably the beginning of the real hard work.
Yes.
So 2025 might.
2024 is what we're shooting for. Yeah, 2024. So it's going to be a little rough, but we have a really good team on that project, and I'm very excited about that team. They're young, and I think they're going to manage that design builder quite well. So it'll be interesting. All right, so now we're going to go through some design projects. We have 20, give or take, design projects going on right now in our office at $806 million worth of projects. So I-30 is one of our largest projects that we have going on right now in design, and this is from Bass Pro all the way to the Hunt County line. And the first project, which is you see in green, is the project stats associated with that. So we have already environmentally cleared that project. We're buying right away. It actually completed the right of way. We're almost completed the right of way position, and then utilities will move as well. There's some utilities down in the lake that we're having to deal with. We didn't really know that were there, and they're just laying in the bottom of the water apparently. So we're dealing with that. Yeah, that was kind of a surprise. And then our PS&E, or when I say PS&E, it's plans, specifications, and estimates. That's the detailed design work. And we're moving forward with that on the green piece as well as on the purple pieces as well. The green piece is fully funded. It was funded back in 2019. And so we're moving forward with that project. And that is going to add frontage roads across the lake, as well as adding 1 lane in each direction as a throughput lane. And that's going to happen in the green and in the red. And then in the purple, it's just a 4-lane facility out there now. We're going to be adding a lane in each direction and reconstructing frontage roads and things like that. So this is going to be a huge benefit as far as mobility and congestion. If anybody knows and lives out there, where there's an accident on 30, you go nowhere fast. And so I'm an advocate for the project, of course, living out there.
I'm an advocate for.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are an advocate for this project. So the good thing is that when we can reconstruct the frontage roads, it's going to be very little interruption to traffic, except for just, your rubberneckers and things like that. And so you're not going to feel that construction delay on this project like you would, like on 35. So once that switch happens, it's going to be great. We're very excited about this project. No, we are not expanding the current structure. We are not in this phase. We're not. There is a phase 2 that does expand it ever so slightly, maybe about 5 or 6 feet. And so we're going to do that in the next phase.
So you get over the bridge when you're on the Rockwell side, then it.
Yeah, then it kind of all starts. Yeah. Yep. It'll be a good job. So let's summarize phase 2. This would be the red and green that you see on the screen. So this is, of course, taking 310 from a freeway section down to a boulevard. We're super excited about this project. We think that this doesn't happen every day. Not hardly ever do we go from a freeway to a boulevard. And so being involved in this project is pretty cool, and being a part of the community interaction and listening to the community what they want was very important for this project.
Yeah, they created a lot of obsolescence back when that was created. I think it will bring both sides back.
Yeah, and it's a lot safer too. I mean, we're putting you on an interstate facility from 175, and so it is the better transportation option for sure. So this project is supposed to go to construction in December. You'll probably start seeing boots on the ground, I would say February timeframe. We are moving utilities. Well, it's currently under construction, so we're we're moving additional utilities as well as finishing up phase one all at the same time. So it's gonna be a seamless transition, the folks that live in this community. So it's gonna be yet another 3 more years of construction, but I think it's definitely gonna be worth it in the end. We have a lot of pockets of landscape and monumentation and art pieces, areas to put art pieces and things like that. So we're very excited about this project.
Lacey, is there gonna be any accommodation for state fair traffic and things like that on the new 45? Once you get down to MLK, is there any?
No.
Not really?
No, not really. The blue box there's gonna be some direct connectors that are constructed here that allow for access a little bit easier to and from. And I think that will make a big difference for access in this area. So Loop 9 is the next project we'll talk about. It's a $165 million project. This is eventually and hopefully going to connect to what we hope maybe is an extension of Loop 9 this way, and then perhaps east branch of PGT sometime in the future. But this is our first link of Loop 9, and it does go from Dallas County into Ellis County and back up again. So the typical sections at the bottom kind of show you what we're looking for. We're going to just do a 2-way frontage road. To begin with, we are purchasing right-of-way for the full footprint, which will ultimately be a freeway section. Clearing all of that right-of-way and getting all the utilities moved accordingly. And then we're going to go with a 2-way frontage road to begin with. And then we'll, in the second phase, this will be later on when development occurs and growth occurs, which is happening with or without Loop 9. We're trying to actually get ahead of the game, which is kind of unusual for TxDOT. And then phase 2, add the other frontage road to allow access, and then coming back with an added lane. And at that point, if we need to move forward with, with the freeway, we're set, and that footprint is set. It's almost as if, the folks that live up north, there's a US 380 feasibility study to turn 380 into a freeway. Well, we're trying to look further down the road to the south and say, hey, we could end up in the same situation that we are on 380 now, which is a very painful situation to go through with the fully developed area, trying to blaze a trail with a freeway section. So we're trying to be smart in this area. So this project will be, construction sometime in March 2021. We're in the process of purchasing right-of-way right now, and we'll be moving utilities here pretty soon. So now we'll talk about some planning projects that we have on the books. We have about 7 or so, there's a few more that are not on this map, 7 or so projects, $1.16 billion. We have a few more out there that are actually on the COGS 10-year list at around $2.3 billion. So they're not on this map. So we'll talk about US 80 corridor first. So US 80 is close to being environmentally clear. We had a public hearing. We went to the community and had that final hearing. And we'll be environmentally clearing this project here pretty soon and purchasing right away. So this project adds capacity for the entire length of US 80 all the way to the county line. And this project actually here is already underway in design. We'll be letting that project here pretty soon, purchasing that right away as well. And this again is the same issue as 30. There's just no reliability through this corridor. And so over the Export Trinity River, we want to make sure we replace those structures that are ailing and aging and get some frontage roads through this area. And we'll do the same. We'll reconstruct everything, continuous frontage roads, which will help immensely in this area. And then the interchange here at 635 also gets reconstructed, but we will not be doing that until 30 at 635 is finished, because we will not reconstruct these interchanges at the same time.
What about the bridge works along that corridor? All those bridges that are in place for some of the bridges?
Some of the bridges, so in the past, we have gone through and Beltline and Collins has been constructed in the recent, maybe 10 years ago. Those are in great shape. We're just gonna widen them in place and they'll stay put. But all the other structures, everything, the entire interchange, everything is gonna get reconstructed. So the full.
Galilee and Highway 80, that bridge.
Oh, yes.
I'm just shocked that it hasn't been done.
Yeah, it is actually on our structurally deficient list, and it is number 1 to be replaced. So this project's gonna roll out in phases. So we have already about $180 million on the books to reconstruct this project. So the green, the blue, and a portion of the red are gonna go first. And so that's what we hope. So we're currently doing detailed design on the green, red, and a portion of the, green, blue, and a portion of the red, right now. And that does include addressing that very issue, because it is, not only is it a structure issue, it's a capacity issue as well. Mobility, it just tightens up right there.
It did do a little enhancement some years ago, but it's been.
They did, yeah, they dropped to make sure the vertical
Yeah,
clearance.
decided.
Mhm. Yeah, and that did make a big difference, but it definitely does not fix that problem. Yeah. So the good news is, we'll be moving forward with requesting the additional funds for the purple and this blue one right here. We don't have funds for those sections yet, but we will by the time we get done. So 2021, we'll be having that grant funded for sure. I-30 Canyons, this is in downtown from 35 to 45. This project's in schematic phase right now. We're coordinating with the city of Dallas on a weekly basis. Our consultant design team and our project managers are working diligently to find a solution. It's not an easy solution, but we're looking to add a tremendous amount of capacity through here. It's just 6 lanes right now, and it's very divided and cumbersome through the area. And the Horseshoe project, that is this area right here, of course, modified a lot of the access in a temporary way. But to fully complete this and really achieve that mobility and congestion relief that we want through this corridor, this project has got to be built. So it includes probably discontinuous frontage roads and additional, we're multiplying the capacity times 2. So going from a 6-lane to a 12-lane facility. And so we're hoping this job is going to go design build most likely. So it'll be a fast track as far as design and construction. So hopefully 2021 we can start that process. 300 million is somewhere around the neighborhood that we're looking at. It's a lot of reconstruction of a lot of structures. I-20 frontage roads, we just completed a schematic on the I-20 frontage roads, so it's basically continuous frontage roads all along I-20. This is also a similar problem that 80 and 30 have, is when there's no reliability because your frontage roads are not there, you have an accident, you have nowhere to go. And so we went through, and the county, Coffman County was very active through this project. They really wanted to see some design of, and have it in place now for continuous frontage roads in case they have development and things like that that occur. So they've already picked up the phone and called me and said, hey, we know your schematic's done, we're ready. Can you break out this piece, this piece, this piece, this piece? And our developers are at the table ready to pay for it. And so we're excited about these jobs. We're gonna break them up into small pieces here and there, and we'll get those interchanges reconstructed, those cross streets redone, and those frontage roads in. So overall total, it's a $500 million project, but we'll break it up into about $40 million, $50 million projects. So that's all the project updates I have. I kind of went through those pretty quick. So if you're ever interested in any projects in your community, or in your area, in your district, in your county, in your city, whatever it is, I encourage you to go to TxDOT.gov. It's a very simple website, TxDOT.gov. And on the very bottom right, this is always showing on the home screen. This is Project Tracker. So Project Tracker is an awesome interactive view of our projects. So you click on it and you can go to the search function. You can search by county, by city. You can search a roadway. And then you click go, and it shows you in a map view all of the projects. And you just click on whatever road you want to click on, and it shows you the information. It shows you project target lettings and where the project is, what phase it's in, and things like that. So it's very helpful for anybody to use. And even globally for developers and real estate folks, you can actually do a dump for an entire city. Say, okay, city of Waxahachie, I want to know what projects are in my community. Then I can say, okay, go Waxahachie, and you can dump, and it's a spreadsheet, and it shows you all the projects, limits, scope of work, target dates, and everything in a spreadsheet format. So it's very helpful for that type of work. So that's all I've got.
All right, questions for Lacey or for Todd? Mr. Kelly?
I've got a few. You know, I have to forgive me, I served as vice chair of the transportation committee, so a lot of this stuff we've worked on for a good long time when I was on council. But one thing about the 190, when it's coming, how far down have they come from the north through Rowlett?
You stole my thunder, I was gonna ask that.
Down through Sunnyvale, and I know ultimately it probably follows the either 740 or Malloy Bridge track, you know, down into down to 45. So has there been any, I I guess, timeline or decisions made on the pathway there? I guess more than anything at Sunnyvale and Highway 80.
Yeah, so that is an NTTA project, 100%. However, TxDOT is doing the advanced planning portion of it. And so, once it passes the advanced planning and environmental, then it becomes an NTTA project. But TxDOT in our commission is not moving forward with toll roads, right? So, because it is in its entirety a toll road, then we are not advancing that project.
So that's because it's one, or ultimately will be 190 and will be tolled, I guess. Is what it's told. The other thing is we were unsuccessful in getting into Trinity Parkway building. You know, that's been something our chamber has advocated, and I have for a long time, but we were unsuccessful. But we still have the need to get to the upper Stemmons corridor. I asked Todd to do a study on a couple pathways to get really, in essence, either over or around the river there, and I know they finally agreed to do that. I think that may have been part of that greater I-30 study there, kind of on the west part of downtown. But I know Lamar was one of the corridors, I don't remember the other one, but that was two potentially feasible areas that we could navigate really from this part of town to what is now where the Dead Man's Curve and then beyond. Have you guys begun to work, or have you done any contemplation of that?
So we have, and if you're referring on the west side from
It's the old
basically
farms,
just
dairy area, is what I'm referring to.
north of the Lotus Simmons project that I looked at, that was showing
This
me,
would
so like
be about-
183, 35 come together, crosses over the TRE line.
Yes. no,
Yeah. Yeah, so we're in the feasibility stage right now for that link. So basically from 183, 35 and as it heads south, into Inwood, in those medical district and all that area, we're in a feasibility study on what happens when Trinity goes away. And all that traffic comes in. Does Pegasus, which is the old project that we have, does it still work, right? Does Pegasus still work? And if it doesn't still work, then how can we make this mobility work through this area? And so we're in the middle of a feasibility study right now, trying to figure out number of lanes and how it's all gonna work, and in the environment that we're in with the commission.
Just for edification of the audience, what's happening to us is we're going right now into Dead Man's Curve or SM Right. So there's no way to avoid downtown or central business district traffic. We want to go around that area and over to North Stemmons to get to Love Field, Design, Hospital District, and DFW and beyond without having to go through downtown. That's always been our goal here through the Chamber of the Business Community, and we've just not been able to defeat that monster because the way the river runs, you know, in the southeast region.
Ricardo, question for Dart. Currently, the Dallas County Community College District and Dart have an agreement where ceasing requests are passed. Does that apply for to the GoLink?
Yes, GoLink is considered to be, you know, like if you have any kind of fare for DART, it would be accepted on GoLink. We need to make it an electronic thing, so I think if you're working on it with the college, because you book your trip through the GoPass app, so I think the college is working towards where it won't be a card. It has to be electronic so that when a person gets on, we know that they have paid fare. But it's not, you know, the agreement that DART has with the community college is proper fare for GoLink. It may not be for all of Uber Pool. So Uber Pool right now, it's free to use Uber Pool to get to or from a rail station, but if you're using it to travel within, say, Plano or within a zone, we charge $3 because we don't have a mechanism of determining if they have paid DART fare. And we know that if we take you to the rail station, you can't go beyond there without paid DART fare. So we don't charge you to get to the station or get back from the station. But for travel within a zone, like if it was travel, you know, from Riley to Cleburne, you know, we have to work on that detail. So right now that as a special fare. But regular GoLink and Uber Pool to the rail station, your community college fare would be fine.
Jennifer, if you want to grab the door prize, we can have that.